truly excited about what we're about to talk about. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence and higher performance. Emotional intelligence and higher performance. What does that mean? Well, before I get into that, my name is Andrew E. Guy. I'm an author, speaker, registered psychotherapist, qualifying. And what I do really is I help high performance individual gain clarity so they can experience wholeness and live a resilient work life. That's really what I do in a nutshell. But today I want to talk to you about this idea of emotional intelligence and higher performance. Like, who needs high performance anyway? Like, when you think of it, like, who really needs high performance? And what is high performance? When we talk about performance, performance is really how you do something, how you perform something. A great speaker once said that how you do anything is how you do everything. Let me say it again. How you do anything is how you do everything. And really what they're talking about is really habit. Research show that it takes about 21 days for you to form a new habit, but there is not that much research that says how long it takes to break a bad habit. You see, a bad habit is like an intrusive thought that comes into your head and it just keep playing and you just can't get rid of it. It's just there and it's playing and it's playing and it's playing. So what we're talking about today is how to be emotionally whole. We're talking about emotional intelligence and how does that intelligence help us to perform better or higher performance in anywhere we are, where we live, where we work, and where we play. So one of the things that hijack our ability to perform higher or achieve higher performance is how we think, right? And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my finger here to kind of demonstrate the thought processes so you can follow me. So if I put my two index finger here together, like so, this would represent the top of the triangle, okay? If I put my two thumbs together, then that would represent the base of the triangle. Now, when I put this triangle up, there is no reference to any kind of mythical theory or philosophy or whatever you guys want to call it because you see a triangle. That's not what it's about. The purpose of the triangle really is to give you 3 points that you can reference for what we're going to discuss. And we're talking about cognitive behavior therapy. Really, that's really what we're talking about. So we're using a triangle here, the top of the T, to kind of represent my thoughts as they pop into my head. See, as my finger come together like this, then that's a thought that pops into my head. The thought that pops into my head, it's almost like the ingredients in a cake. I really have to process these ingredients. So when the thought comes into my head, I gotta process the ingredients. A perfect example would be this. The phone rings, like the phone rings. So what? I have to do something. It's like the thought comes into my head, like the phone is ringing. When the phone rings, then I can choose to answer the phone. When the thought pops into your head, it's the same thing, it's identical to the phone ringing. When I answer the phone and engage in the conversation, that is called thinking. All right, so I'm going to run through it quickly and then come down back and break it down for you. Ring, 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 ring. That's an intrusive thought. It pops in. That's an intrusive call. You could have been sitting down, enjoying a meal, driving on the road, and ring, ring, ring. Boom. The thought pops into your head. The phone rings. The phone interrupts what you're already doing. When you answer the phone, you are engaging in that conversation. You have already given the caller permission to engage with you. Now, the same thing with your thoughts. So when the thought pops into your head, the moment you engage that thought or start to think about the thought, then you have now engaged the thought. We call that thinking. So thought pops in. When I think about it, thinking represents processing of the thought. Here's another metaphor. I have some ingredients. I mix it up, I put it in a cup, and it's the ingredients that's supposed to, when it goes through the process, it makes a cookie, right? So if I want to make gingerbread cookies, well, I think about the gingerbread cookies. I come up with the ingredients, but then I put it on the stove and I put the oven, should I say, I put it in the oven, and then I have to make sure I have the right temperature, that the environment has to be right. And then when the environment is right through heat and combustion, guess what happened? The ingredients go through a process where they come together to create the outcome, which is the cookie. Let me run back again. Stay with me. A thought pops into your head. The phone rings. You decide to answer the phone. You're engaging the caller. The thought pops into your head. You engage the thought. We call that thinking. The thinking is the processing of the thought that comes into your head. And here's the next part. So I'm right here at the tip of the triangle. I have just had a thought, like boom, the fingers touch, thought comes in. I engage the thought. That is called thinking. When I am thinking about the thought, then what happened? Now that thought creates a feeling. And then the feeling, when it's acted upon, an invisible feeling which nobody else can see but you, guess what happened? You express it. A feeling or unseen feeling that is expressed is called an emotion. So when people see it, people see an emotion. Okay, you have expressed this feeling as an emotion. And as we move along the triangle, I'm going to move all the way out. So I express the feeling as an emotion. When I express this emotion, once it's expressed, right, it's no longer invisible. It's now visible. It's now seen. Unseen feeling expressed as an emotion becomes visible. When I express this emotion, now I'm going to have what's called an action or outcome or a behavior. Okay, so let me break it down for you. So at the top of my triangle, I have a T. To the left, I have feelings. And then I have FE at the left base of the triangle. At the right, I have an A, and I have a B, and I have an O. What do I simply mean by that? So when I think about, when a thought pops in, I process the thought, it becomes thinking. It's processing of the thought, like the ingredients of the cake. I put it into the oven, then that gets processed, it gets baked, right? When the thought becomes processed through thinking, it generates a feeling. So I feel sad, or I feel happy, I feel like screaming, I feel like, whoa, I feel like it. I feel, right? It generates a feeling. That means I didn't do anything yet. It's unseen, it's invisible to everyone who's watching or the observer. When I express the feeling, then that is an emotion. Now people see it. Now, from the first person perspective, that is called an action. From the first person, it's called an action. When people observe it from the second person or third eye optic, then it's looked at as a behavior. So when somebody sees you, they wouldn't say, why are you acting like that? Because acting is what the first person does, right? The observation that people see is called a behavior. So, and then when the first person and the observer and or second eye optic or third eye optic, right, observer, when both first and second and or third person sees or observe this particular action that you've done, it's seen as a behavior and an outcome. Let me break it down. Thought pops in, see my finger touches, thought pops in, boom. Now I have to engage that thought. I have to decide, do I want to think about this thing or do I want to just let it slide? Do I let it go or do I process it? When I process it, that means I've engaged the thought, even if it's intrusive, right? Now you're saying, Andrew, well, can I just generate a thought by myself? Yeah. We have the ability to do that, right? We know right side of the brain, the right side, the hemisphere of the brain here is really creative stuff. The left side is more for thinking and analytical processing, right? So people who work with numbers will be more left-brained, and the people who are now artistic, I didn't say autistic, artistic, right? Then our expression, they will use more of the right side of the brain, but both sides of the brain come together to complete this whole experience that we call a behavior, right? So what's happening now, boom, I touch, thought begins. I process the thought, that's called thinking. And once I start to think about it, it's going to generate a feeling. And then when I start to feel, then I have to express this because it's now all inside of me. I didn't really do anything with it. How do I get it out? And then now I express it. So, and when I express it, this expression, when it's seen by a second observer or a third eye, optics, or somebody else, or a group of people, then they see it as a behavior. Then they will say, why are you behaving like that, right? When the first and the second or third person see it together, is viewed as an outcome. So the outcome be a consequence for the person who did the action, or the first person, right? And the other person see it as, wow, it could be a phenomenon. It could be like, oh my goodness, that is actually happening. Okay, so the observer sees it as an event. The person who is doing the acting sees it as a consequence or outcome of the consequence. Does that make sense? So because A happened, because I did A, B happened. The people who are observing it sees it as an event. The event can be a consequential event or a learning event. They learn something from the behavior. They learn something from the event. Does that make sense? Now, why are we even talking about thought, thinking, feeling, emotion, expression versus the outcome, the acting and behavior? Well, all of these things, this little formula right here, this framework determines the individual who is an high performer. All high performing individuals have to go through this process. Thought pops into their head, they can decide, no, I'm not dealing with that right now. I can basically put that on the side burner and focus, because I want to let you know, you get to keep what you focus on. You get to keep what you focus on. And I also made a note that I wanted to bring up. You get to keep what you focus on, but we get to experience what we say. Let me say it again. You get to experience what you say. Whatever you say, you get to experience it. But you get to keep what you focus on. So, for example, if you're focusing on failure, that's what you get to experience. Over the years, I've worked with high performance individuals. We're talking about doctors, surgeons, dentists, lawyers. We talk about leaders. We talk about individuals who are basically making the world happen. I've been working with these individuals for over 15 years, had the privilege of sitting down with some of the brightest minds, right? And when we talk about the brightest mind, we talk about individuals who are going in to operate on individuals. We talk about doctors who are working on the front line, trying to make sure individuals are staying alive, keeping people alive. Had the opportunity to work with those. Had the opportunity to work with some brilliant teachers over the years, educators who are transforming the classrooms, who are knocking down the walls of the classroom and expanding the classroom from just in a building to make learning a lifelong experience. So I've worked with those individuals, and specifically, I remember in my time when I was a teacher in Jacksonville, Florida, had a chance to, do PD development. We call it professional development for teachers. And I had a chance to speak at a teachers conference in Oklahoma many years ago. And when I showed up there, individuals were like, well, the first thing they heard was that you have an accent, right? And the second thing that they learned was that, wow, okay, the accent helps me to pay closer attention to what he's saying because I don't want to miss anything, right? Because you know what? Familiarity really causes ignorance, because when you're familiar with something, it sounds the same way, nothing different about it, then you tend to tune it out, right? But if it's something different, it sparks your attention and it causes you to focus in a little bit more. So as I said earlier on, you get to keep what you focus on. When I was there doing the conference, I remember individuals came up to me after and said, Andrew, how is it that you're able to take complex ideas and break them down and make them so simple that I get it, right? I said, that's the idea, right? People who try to make things difficult so you don't understand it is because they're either trying to sell you something or they want you to become dependent on them so you can depend on them. But my goal in life really is to help you get clarity. And once you get clarity, then you have meaning to what you do. And in the process of experiencing that meaning, then you get what? You get that resilience and wholesomeness that you feel when you feel one with what you're doing. So we gain clarity, we gain meaning, a sense of wholesomeness, holistic self, so you can be at your best through work-life resilience. What are we talking about? What is work-life resilience? It's like when I work and in my life, when I put those together, integrate those things, then I need to make sure I'm resilient enough to get through the day, resilient enough to oversee the individuals that I'm overseeing, resilient enough to be dependent upon by the people that depend on me. Does it make sense? So when we talk about this high performance, I'm going to go back now to the process and the meaning and the agenda of today. Is really to focus on emotional intelligence for higher performance. So we went into the thinking, feeling, expression of emotion to action, behavior, and outcome to help you understand that this framework is designed to help you to take your performance higher, right? If you're not aware or if you're not in control of the intrusive thoughts that comes into your brain, then guess what? It's just like having a car and having 15 drivers at the same time. 15 drivers at the same time, meaning that you keep lending your car out to just anyone. So now, in essence, when we think about the car is your brain. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. The thoughts that you have are what's in control of the steering wheel. So you get to drive the car yourself, or you can allow somebody to control your thinking, almost like a remote. So your car is your brain, but your thought processes is what's in control of the wheel that drives your thinking. Car, physical, brain, thinking is an experience. Does that make sense? Because you can't see thinking until you express it. Thinking is invisible until you express it as an emotion. So I want you to understand that, okay? So when we work with high performance individual, is to get them to be mindful of what they're thinking about at all times. Will there be some thoughts that slip into the crack? Yes. But if you don't focus on it, as I said earlier on, you get to keep what you focus on, but you get to what? Experience. You get the opportunity to experience what you say. High performance individual don't just say words. As a matter of fact, I wrote a book called Work Your Words, Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success. I would love for you to go and get a copy of that book. Just run over to andrewguyspeaks.com and get you a copy of Work Your Words. Also, there's another book there that I would also recommend for this, and it's The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community. It's helping you to understand how your anatomy is part of this amazing community, human community, and when we come together, wow, we're unstoppable. So get you a copy of that book. And at the same time, while you're there, get ready for my upcoming book, Win Where You Are. Win Where You Are. Stop waiting to become. Powerful book. Get those resources, and let's jump back over into the conversation. So when we talk about this high performance individual are people that are self-aware. Write that down. High performance individual are people who are self-aware, because it's almost like being an aircraft. You're in the air, and the air traffic controller have to know exactly where you are at all times. Any plane or aircraft that comes off the blimp or off the monitor, that's an aircraft that's in danger. An individual or a high performance leader who is not aware of his or her thought is in danger of making a mistake that, guess what, can cost other people their lives. They not only endanger themselves, but they endanger other individuals. As a leader, you have to make sure that you are self-aware. Self-aware doesn't mean self-conscious. A lot of people think, oh, I'm self-conscious, so that means I'm aware. It's not the same. Okay, so awareness meaning that I am aware of my thoughts, all the thoughts that are happening, the transactional thoughts that are happening. Okay, the brain activity, the neurological transaction that are happening between the hemisphere, the left and right hemisphere of my brain. That's a person that is aware. When you are aware, you know how to compartmentalize these thoughts. No, I don't need that right now. No, I don't need that right now. I need to put this one here. I need to put this one here. And we're putting our thoughts in all of these little pockets so we can withdraw them and act upon them when needed. But if we have thoughts that are just running back and forth in our brain, and we're not really aware, okay? We're not really aware. Just like the air traffic controller, he or she has to be aware where all of these aircraft that are on her screen that she's responsible for. The one that she's not aware of endanger the pilot and every other person's that are in the air at that time. And not only does it affect the people that are in the air, there's a greater consequence that it will cause for those people who are on the ground. Because if the plane falls out of the sky, then it has to hit somewhere. And believe me, there are people that are on the ground. It could be a suburban area that the plane falls in. So why am I giving you all of that? That the person, the high performance individual, have to be self-aware. Self-aware, a lack of self-awareness will cause this individual to jeopardize their livelihood and the livelihood of those who follow them and those who are connected to them. Does that make sense? So self-awareness is key. Let's jump to the next bullet. High performance individual have to be emotionally cognizant. We call it emotional intelligence. Intelligence is basically how I express my feelings. That's really what it's about. And I have control of that expression, the breadth of it, the depth of it, the width of it, the length of it. Well, Andrew, what do you mean by that? Help me understand that. Break it down. So when I talk about the length of it, how long can you express this emotion? Let's say, for example, how long do you sustain this one emotion? Let's say, for example, someone said something that triggered you, caused you to feel upset, caused you to feel sad, caused you to feel threatened, caused you to feel like, well, they're coming to take my position. They're coming to knock me off the totem pole. Or the other hand, the other spectrum of it is where, well, because of what he's saying is causing me to feel suppressed or oppressed. Someone's words is oppressing me or oppressing a group of individuals. So therefore, it's like they've set a ceiling and I can't go up. I can't break through that ceiling. Why? Because of what someone says. So let me help you understand what's happening. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, because emotion basically is seen, it's experienced, it's visible. I can have an emotion on my face, like I can have it confused, like I can have one of those. I can have all of these emotions, but it's based on, go back to what we said before, it's my thought. And if you're a spiritual individual, the Bible said, as a man or woman thinketh, so they are. So you become your thoughts. An emotionally intelligent individual is aware of his or her thought and the consequences of the thinking, of carrying out that thinking process all the way to the end. So my thought, it pops into my head. Well, it's just a thought. I don't have to entertain it. I don't have to go there, so to speak. I can just let that go because I can bypass that. I'm not worried about that. And I'm only going to focus on what's going on here. I'm not worrying about that thought because I'm thinking, oh, this can happen. This could or could not happen. That's the next point that we're going to talk about, is how does your thinking cause you to become anxious of an experience that may or may not happen? We're going to talk about that next. Okay, so let's continue. So we're having these thoughts and it's affected our emotional intelligence. Emotion is seen. Emotion is experience. Emotion that is not experienced or expressed is just a feeling that is invisible that no one sees. Does that make sense? But the human being is so intricate. It is so interesting. It is so complex that is so difficult for you to have a thought that you can't really, it's difficult not to express it. We express it somehow. Some thoughts, not every thinking process is expressed with a fist or expressed like this. Some of them are expressed through you feeling lethargic. It drains you. You want to isolate and retreat. You feel a sense of hopelessness. You feel a sense of depression. You feel like withdrawing and isolating yourself. You don't feel like you belong. That's an expression. That's an emotional expression of a feeling. I'm thinking something because of what someone said about me. So now I interpret that as a negative. And if I interpret it as a negative, then I'm going to act that way. I'm going to behave that way. I'm going to express what I am feeling as an expression emotionally. It's almost as like this thing is actually, it's like having popcorns in a bag and it's popping around. And they're going everywhere. And they're waiting to jump out of the bag. And as soon as one opening opens, boom, that popcorn comes out. That popcorn, that kernel, that go to the process of getting popped because it was too hot in the kitchen or hot in the bag, so to speak, then guess what? It jumps out. The jumping out of the popcorn is the expression that we see as emotion. While it's in the bag, we know something is going on. It's hot in the bag and they're bouncing around. That's the same thing like someone else's feelings. You don't know what they're thinking. You know something is going on, but boom. And then it happens. Then you see what they were thinking. Some people express what they're thinking because they become triggered. So an emotionally hold or emotional intelligent person or leader or high performer is able to perform because they are first aware. They know how to control their thought process, meaning thought, thinking, feeling, expression of emotion, then act, outcome, behavior, consequence, or event. Through that whole framework, I would love to come in and teach this to your team. I would love to come in and teach this to your high-performing team, how to maintain their level of high performance through this framework of intelligence, emotional intelligence. If you're interested in such a program, please reach out. Go to andrewguyspeaks.com, andrewguyspeaks with an S.com. And click on the calendar and enter your information and let us know what are some possible dates that are good for you. And then someone from our team will get back to you and help you put this thing together. All right, let's get back to it because we got one more point we got to make and then we're going to move on. I want to be aware, okay? And we talked about emotional intelligence. Emotion is the expression of a feeling that is a result of thinking and that is a result of a thought. So my emotional intelligence tells me that this is how I'm feeling. Now I have the ability to decide or have a change or a course of action, changing a course of action. Instead of going left, I'm going to go right. If I say that way, then, well, that might not give me the right outcome. Even though I feel this way, if I say it the way I feel, then can I live with the consequences of what and how I said it? Because a great poet and writer once said, it's not about what you say or how much of it you say, It's how you make me feel. Emotional intelligent leaders or high performers are cognizant of the way they make other people feel around them. I will let that sit with you for a minute. Emotionally intelligent high performers are aware of how they make other people feel around them. A person who is emotionally intelligent and are aware of their thought, their thinking, and their feeling will be mindful of how they express this as an emotion. If someone comes up to you and says to you, good morning, Mr. So-and-so, good morning, Mr. Bob, or morning, Mrs. Maria, what do you want? You become short, like a fuse. You become reactive as opposed to being responsive. You yell instead of speak. You defend instead of waiting to see what you can learn from that experience. Defending means you feel like somebody attack you. You're on the defensive. I gotta prove. I gotta tell them a piece of my mind. And I always say, the piece of your mind that you give away to others, you're going to use it next time. You're going to need it in the future. Don't give a piece of your mind away. You need all of it. Keep all of it. Never give a piece of your mind away. Give them the piece of your mind. Don't give a piece of your mind. Give them the peace of mind. That's emotional intelligence. When I can give the peace of mind instead of giving a piece of my mind. Now, a piece of my mind is a Caribbean expression that means I'm going to tell you off. In layman terms, I'm going to tell you full. I'm going to curse you out. I'm going to be mean to you. I'm going to belittle you. I'm going to let you know that you are hurting me. And ow, you're standing on my toe. And so I have to let you know how you make me feel. That's peace of my mind. But given the peace of mind is when you respond instead of react. Emotional, intelligent individual who are high performers know how to give the peace of mind instead of a peace of mind. Does that make sense? All right. The next thing. I don't try to live the future, now. Emotional, intelligent individual don't go to Elon Musk and say, hey, brother, I want to take a trip to 2030 or 2029. I just want to get out of here. Do you got such an aircraft ready to go? I'm ready to go. And then boom, you suit up, okay, you get your vital sign, you do what you need to do, what the space traveling people do. And boom, off you go, and you're traveling. And boom, you reach. You are now in 2023, but you're living the experience of 2026. Okay, maybe that is too far-fetched. Let me bring it in to your neck of the woods. Like Al Roker would say, your neck of the woods. So I'm in your neck of the woods right now. So you're a supervisor and someone comes in and says, oh, well, listen, I can't come to work tomorrow. You fly off the rocker. What do you mean you can't come into work tomorrow? Did you not know tomorrow, Tuesday, is our busiest day of the week? We have so many products that are coming in. We have an individual coming all the way from overseas, and he's going to be visiting us. I have 3 interviews to do tomorrow. What do you mean you can't come in tomorrow? The person was like, whoa. You basically just pimp slap that person. You just went like bam, 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 bam. You just smacked them up or her. And so what you've done, instead of respond, you reacted based on how you were feeling. An emotional, intelligent individual who's a high performer will stop and listen and say, hey, okay, tell me what's going on. Why do you need to take tomorrow off? Well, and then that will give you an opportunity to learn more about the individuals working for you or working on your team. I said, why do you need to take tomorrow off? You know what? Give me a second. Let's deal with this now. The person who does not have the emotional intelligence fly off the handle because instead of dealing with today, boom, automatically went into tomorrow. So you see what I'm talking about? Remember, we talked about the Elon Musk, SpaceX, and 2029, 2030. Instead, we brought it down to your neck of the woods so you can understand and give you an example, a tangible, practical example, so you can see what people who have emotional intelligence, how they would respond versus a person who lack emotional intelligence would react. So what happens? When the person flew off the handle, that is supervisor A, flew off the handle, blah, 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 blah. Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know? And it's always, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know? All of this is a reaction based on a what? A future event that may or may not happen. So a person who is reactive is an emotionally unstable leader. The emotionally intelligent leader who's a high performer respond instead of react. But how can you use that in your company? How can you use that in your area of expertise? Listen, listen, listen more than you speak. That's the key. Listen. Okay, so that's what you would do. So here, let's work to a scenario now where you are going to get to see the person who display emotional intelligence. Employee B or teammate B or C or F, LMNOP. Let's just use an alphabetical coworker for the sake of time. That makes sense? Okay, so a coworker comes up to you and say, well, I can't come tomorrow for whatever the reason is. Instead of blowing a fuse, flipping out, losing it, you said, you know what? I'm not sure what's going to happen tomorrow, but I know you're important right now. So do you want to take a moment to, I know I have about 3 meetings in the next 30 minutes, but that's still in the future, right? I still haven't done the meeting yet, but you're here now. So the best response would be, hey, do you got 5 minutes? Would you like to step in my office? Sure. You will change that situation for that person who is reporting to you. They're like, wow, wow. Sir, I thought you're always busy. You wouldn't have time for me. I wasn't sure how I should tell you this because I just thought you were going to yell at me. I just thought that I was going to get the normal response that, you know, all supervisor high performance executive give. The C-suite gives the people who are not even in the suite, who are sour, who are working in the sour suite. You're in the C-suite. You get it? Sweet C. I mean, C-suite. C sour. You get it? I hope you get it. Humor. Anyway, let's continue. So you say the high performance individual, the wholesome, whole person, holistic thinking, the person who have the emotional intelligence intact will take this person and say, you know what? Let's take 5 minutes. And you take that person to the office and then you say to that person, how can I help? Wow. It changes the game. That person will be able to connect with you and say, you know what, so-and-so happened. Well, my mother is not feeling so well. My dad is not feeling so well, or a family member is not feeling so well. And so I know they don't have the capacity to help out to do what they need to do. So I would like to take tomorrow off because I can be there for them. They don't have a car. They used to drive. They're no longer able to drive. And so therefore they have no way of, you know, ambulating around the house or even transportation to take them to the clinic. And tomorrow is a busy day at the clinic. And so I was hoping that I can take tomorrow off so I can just go and be a support for that person. The person gets triggered when they go into the clinic because they feel like their health is deteriorating and they're here. And so they feel like, well, I may not make it out of the clinic, or I'm here because, you know, something just so bad. Something tragic happened in my body and I don't know how to interpret that. So that's how that person is thinking. So me being there, I just want to be there to support. Now, did that person have to give you all that detail? No. And did the receiver, the intelligent individual, the emotionally intelligent individual, now what is the difference? that experience. The experience is that now the emotionally intelligent high performer now gain information that they did not have before. And so they're now able to make an informed decision in the present. It only take 5 minutes. That's it. He said, okay, you know what, Bob, Jeanette, whatever your name is, I'll be, of course, an emotional, intelligent person will know the name of the individual. And here's an example before we continue. Let me just piggyback here or just come back around to this one. Here it is. If you're an emotionally intelligent individual and you working in a large corporation and it's difficult for you to keep up with all the names or keeping up with the Joneses, then the Jones is basically a metaphor for all the new people going in and out of your organization. That's only if you have like a high turnover in your organization. But if you don't, and you have individuals who are there working 10, 20 years, it's good that you know their names, right? Because name is powerful, right? And names is one of the first way that we connect with individuals. Somebody knows your name. It's like the sitcom Cheers. You want to go where everybody knows your name. And they always glad you came. I don't know the rest of the song. As soon as it reaches there, then that's why I just start humming. You wanna go where everybody knows your name, and that's all I know. So if you know the jingle, let me know what it is, okay? But that's it. The point is to help you understand when you remember someone else's name, boom, you feel welcome, feel like you belong, you feel like they're engaged, you feel like they're talking to you, not you feel like you're in the room, so to speak. Right? So when you say to the individual, hey Bob, listen, I completely understand how you feel. No problem. As a matter of fact, you know what? Since you have to go and help that individual tomorrow, you know what? We have extra fund in our company for situation just like that. Now we were going to donate it to not-for-profit, charity, but you know what we're going to do? Instead of doing that, this is also a charity too, right? So we're going to look out for our own. So what I want to do, I will take a percentage of that and I'll talk to the payroll and tell them to cut you a check for tomorrow. And that will help you to facilitate all the things that you have to do tomorrow. Would that help? Do you imagine what kind of employee or coworker you would now have? They'll have someone who feel so vested. They feel so supported. They feel like they belong. They feel like they're part of a community. And what they will do, here's what they will do. They will feel like they are bought into the vision of your company, because it's not only up on the plaque in the hallway or the lobby, it's now reciprocating right from your heart. They get to see it practically. They get to experience the mission statement, the vision statement, and the value statement that your company stands for. Do you think they want to quit on you? No. They want to talk to you about what they want to contribute to your company, how they want to upgrade their skill set so they can become an asset to your company. Do you see how that emotional intelligence has changed the whole situation? Instead of having an employee that becomes disgruntled and say, as a matter of fact, I'm going to take tomorrow off and I'm going to take the rest of my life off from this company because you know what? My mom or my dad or my family member is sick. And the only reason I'm taking a day off, I have not taken a day off. Do you see how that conversation could have gone a different way? I have not taken a day off in the past 15 years I've been here. And I just want this one day. To go look about a family and this is how you treat me? To hell with this. And so what has happened now? You have now traumatized that person because of your lack of intelligence, emotional intelligence. And one situation that was, almost controllable, manageable, now it's blown out of proportion and that person now feel like they're on the edge, their back is against the wall and they become emotional. And so they react out of their emotion. And you know what? You've lost a 15-year qualified, untrainable, because you cannot get that 15 years back in another employee. And then they leave, you lose. So the purpose of all of this is to help you to understand that there is a power, there is a benefit of having and experiencing and cultivating emotional intelligence for high performers who want to change the trajectory of the outcome that they have where they live, where they work, and where they play. My name is Andrew E. Guy. If you'd like me to come and speak to your high performance or high performing leaders, C-suite executives, please reach out at andrewguyspeaks.com and let us know how we can help you. Our team leader, Rose, or meeting planner will get your name, get some information, and then they'll get back to you and see how we can fit you into our calendar so we can serve you, because that's what it's about. All right. I am so thankful for your time to sit and listen and break bread with me in this afternoon, this lunchtime on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm excited. All right. So again, remember, emotional intelligence goes a long way, a long way. And it's all about dealing with the issues in the present instead of focusing on the future, which may or may not happen. Again, there are resources on my website that you can get. Book, Work Your Words, Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success. Book number 2, The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community. Book number 3, The Soon to Be Coming. Win Where You Are. Stop Waiting to Become. And I'm excited. And as usual, you can find me at Eiler Podcast. I also host a podcast where we talk about, hey, disrupting your normalcy. That is on ILIRPODCAST.com. That is ILAPodcast.com. It means I'm listening, I'm ready. Podcast.com. That's what it means. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. My name is Andrew E. Guy. I'm an author and speaker and coach, and I help high performance individuals gain clarity so they can have meaning. And when they have meaning, guess what? They will be able to build and sustain a resilient work life for as long as they want. And that's what it's about. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, I will see you in the next one. Peace.